Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Ghost and Molly McGee episode 10. The final episode for now. That's right, there's only 10 episodes out so far, but more are coming next month in February. So luckily we won't have to wait long for more episodes. I got to this series at the right time pretty much, but maybe a little too early. But yeah. So next month there will be more episodes, but because this is the last episode that's out right now, obviously we'll have to switch over to something else in the meantime, which I'll talk about in the afterthoughts. But in the meantime, yeah, so last episode, Libby has found out about Scratch. So Libby now canonically knows about Scratch, and yeah, it was very mixed for me because I liked the episode where she found out and where Molly was trying to hide it at first. Like, that was a very fun episode, but I didn't like the second half of the episode where Libby and Scratch were competing over who was Molly's best friend. And it's like, oh my god, this is stupid. And it's like, there was some fun stuff in it, in that half of the episode. It wasn't like all bad or anything, but and it was probably one of the better examples of a show doing that kind of trope. But my god, I'm not a fan of that trope. It's so dumb. And I feel like very unrealistic too. At least from my experience. I don't know if anyone else has like faced that kind of thing. Like, let me know, I guess. But from my experience and the experience of like people I've been around, that kind of stuff never actually happens. Like, yeah, best friends like obviously do exist as a concept, but usually no one really puts that much into it in real life. And there can be people can have multiple best friends. Again, I've never really seen anything like this, like where people were competing over who would be a best friend. I've never seen that in real life. And I've never heard of it from friends and other people I've known and everything. It's just a concept that seems entirely fictional. Or at least mostly so. Again, if anyone has seen that or experienced that themselves, let me know. I don't try to just like delegitimize. I think that's how, yeah, delegitimize anyone's experiences or anything. Like, I'm not trying to do that here. It's just, again, just from my experiences is what I'm saying. But yeah, either way, I still don't like it as a trope. I think it's dumb. I just think it's a stupid concept that just, if honestly, if Libby and Scratch had just sat down and thought about it for like 10 seconds, they would have understood that there was no reason for thinking that or doing that. And it was like brought up in the comments, like, because I complained about it last time too. Like, people were like even saying like, oh yeah, Libby has this like possessive side because like she's never really had a best friend like this and all, but admittedly the show has never really displayed that before. And it's like, I can see how you could be possessive of a best friend, sure, if you've like never had one before and if you're like really like dependent on that. I could see that. But again, it's never shown even a hint of that before. Like, there's never, like with Libby, it's never shown that there's even a slight hint of her being like that. Like, yeah, we kind of knew that Molly was her first best friend, but we never really had a hint of her being possessive about it. So it just kind of feels out of place. Especially for Libby's character. She just doesn't seem like she would be possessive, just with how her character is. But either way, um, yeah, even though it was a Libby focused episode and Libby's my favorite character, um, I only liked the first half of it as much. Again, the second half wasn't like terrible or anything. There was still plenty of stuff that was fun in it, but it just I didn't like the entire concept behind it. Um, so yeah, there is that. But I mean, I assume that's not like really going to be an ongoing thing because like obviously they kind of resolved that issue in the episode, so they don't really need to touch on it much at all anymore, which is good because I don't want them to. um, but yeah, so it should hopefully become better after this with Libby now knowing about Scratch, and they seem to be friends and all now. Um, so hopefully the dynamic should go back to normal with the addition of Libby and Scratch now interacting as well. Um, but meanwhile, I want to finish off these pre-thoughts by mentioning something I found out. Um, so when I look at like the credits of a series or an episode or whatnot, when I look at the credits and check out the voice actors and stuff, um, I don't usually look up a name unless I recognize the name or like, okay, who is that? Because the voice sounds really familiar. Usually it just doesn't occur to me to look them up unless, again, one of those things happen. The voice sounds really familiar or I kind of recognize the name. Um, so when I saw Libby's voice actress in the or in the credits for episodes, Laura Jill Miller, I didn't recognize the name, and her voice didn't sound familiar enough to me to like for me to like really look it up. I just didn't think of it. I didn't consider it. Um, but then um, I found out in the comments just like a couple days ago. Someone mentioned in the comments that Libby's VA, Laura Jill Miller, is the same VA as the English dub voice of Hikari, or in the dub she's known as Kari, from Digimon Adventure. The Digidestined partner of Gatomon. And honestly, my favorite of the Digidestined when I was growing up. So, and she's also Haru from Beastars, but that doesn't really matter a lot to me because I don't like Beastars. I watched, I want to say 6 episodes of it and dropped it because I did not like it. Um, but yeah, she is Haru in Beastars as well. Um, among other roles too. She's also Juniper Lee. Like that's a blast from the past, and it's like I did not know that either. But I listened to the voices like back to back. I listened to uh, Kari from the Digimon dub, compared it back to back with Libby's voice, and it's like, oh my god, it's so obvious. It's like so blatantly the same voice. I mean, not exactly the same down to like the inflection and everything and the way she performs the role and all, but it's clearly the same VA. And it's just like I can't believe I didn't realize it before. Because again, I grew up with the dub of Digimon, and I would hear Kari all the time in that. So it's like I can't believe I didn't realize. I can't believe I didn't recognize her voice it just again, when watching it, never clicked with me. It never came across as recognizable enough for me to look it up. I saw the VA in the credits and thought like, oh, I don't recognize that name, so it just never occurred to me. But I think that's fucking awesome. I think that's amazing. Because like my favorite character from Digimon when I was growing up, and now my favorite character from Ghost and Molly McGee has the same VA. I think that's really cool. Um, Character wise, they're not really anything alike, but I still think it's cool. Um, and honestly, just being completely honest and fair here, she is very much improved. Like, I don't know if it was the intent with the original Digimon dub, but they were very corny in their delivery and everything. I don't know if it was just because of Lara Jill Miller being newer to voice acting at that time or whatnot, but she is very much improved. And honestly, I could hear that in Haru in Beastars. Like, she's very much improved in her voice acting, and so that's really genuinely cool to actually be able to notice how much better she's gotten. And she's great as Libby. She's fantastic. So I'm all for it for so many reasons. But yeah, so I found that out, and that's really cool. So this is our last episode. Like I said, for now. We will get back to this in February. Like I said, I'll talk in the afterthoughts about what's going to replace this for the time being, until it comes back. But because this is the last episode that's currently released, I at least know what half of this is going to be about. Because I had been spoiled on something. I mentioned this like episodes back. I don't remember exactly how far back, but I did mention that there was something regarding Libby and a fun fact about her that I was spoiled on. I don't know the context. I don't know like how it all works, but I know. In fact, I actually said it when we had the bat mitzvah episode. I mentioned like one thing I knew about her was that she was Jewish, which that episode revealed, and all. But it's like with this episode, I guess I can say because you guys have probably seen it tonight, and this is you're about to watch it, I guess. But basically, I know that at least half of this episode has to do with Hanukkah because I saw a screenshot at one point showing Libby and her mom with a menorah, so I do know about that. And I'm excited for that because you don't see Hanukkah used in a lot of media. Like it's not, and I want it to be used in more. So and we need to see Kwanzaa in different media too. Like I believe Proud Family had Kwanzaa in it, and Hanukkah was featured in Rugrats actually. Um, but a lot of cartoons or shows in general don't feature other winter holidays because let's be honest, like, because of how just honestly modern culture throughout the world has been affected by Christianity throughout history, stuff like the celebration of Christmas is kind of a almost universal thing. It's like it's the most celebrated winter holiday. And it's like it's celebrated not just here in America, but all over the world. And in different ways, of course. There's different traditions and whatnot, and different ways it's celebrated, but it is the most celebrated. Other holidays like Hanukkah, Yule, Kwanzaa, they don't get as much attention because of Christmas just being so ubiquitous as the winter holiday. So because of that, we don't get a lot of cartoons that show up the other ones, And so I'm glad that we have Ghost and Molly McGee that's going to highlight this. And with a character who is like one of our, you could say, major characters of the show being Jewish. So I think this is a really great idea. Um, and I'm really excited to see what they do with it. Don't know what the other half of the episode is going to be, though. They might just make it a full-on holiday episode. I think this episode came out of like the beginning of December, so or maybe the end of November. So it would kind of make sense, like as like a little holiday special, as the last episode until February. We now know. um, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this last episode is about. I'm excited to see how they handle this. Again, I just know it happens. I don't know the context behind it or anything. I don't know what exactly the story of the episode is. So yeah, I'm very excited for this one. I'm always excited for more Libby. um, so that's going to be really fun. Even though last episode kind of disappointed me half of it with Libby, I'm still excited for more Libby. So let's just get this going. Hope for the best. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, as I said in the reaction, the holidays are my favorite time of the year. I just really adore the cheer and just the overall feeling of that time of year. And I just, when you combine that with this series that I very clearly love, and with half of the episode dedicated to a holiday that, while I don't celebrate, I very much want to know more about and want to see showcased in shows like this more, with a character who is my favorite in the series. It's like, yeah, this is gonna be my favorite episode so far. It's very blatantly my favorite episode so far. The first half, the Festival of Lights episode, was absolutely wonderful. It had some good humor in it. It had some good heart. But best of all, it very much was able to showcase Hanukkah in a very wonderful way. Through Libby using her poetry to tell the story of Hanukkah, to getting to celebrate all the traditional Hanukkah foods, playing the dreidel, and other such celebrations, such as the entire thing about reading the notes and everything. It's so cool getting to see this just not just mentioned but actively celebrated in a modern cartoon. In a modern cartoon that is an American cartoon, a country that is primarily Christmas celebratory, where Christmas is the just main tradition of this nation, just on a grand scale. It's great to see an American cartoon celebrate something else. And again, it's not the first time. Again, like I mentioned in the pre-thoughts, Rugrats celebrated Hanukkah. Proud Family celebrated Kwanzaa. So it's not the first time a non-Christmas winter holiday has been celebrated in a cartoon, but it doesn't happen so often. And it's rare to see it in a cartoon but also really rare to see it celebrated so beautifully. Like, this was a beautiful episode. Learning about the history of the holiday and also just some lore surrounding Libby's family, and how they had to come to America after fleeing their home, and the menorah was the only thing that they had that they brought with them, and it's the same menorah that they now display in Libby's mom's bookstore and everything. And I love the fact that, like, without any hesitation or any kind of like judgment or confusion or anything, the McGee family just comes to this bookstore along with all these other people, just really just completely ready and willing to celebrate this holiday that they don't normally celebrate, just to celebrate it with the Stein Taurus family. That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful, and more people should do that. More people should definitely be willing to celebrate Hanukkah with friends of theirs that are Jewish, and so on and so forth. I think that's absolutely beautiful. Because in so many other lesser shows, they would have very easily made a thing about this. Like, oh, our main character's family doesn't know about Hanukkah, so the episode is like showing them like trying to get used to a holiday they're not used to. And it's all about them learning that other holidays are valid. And that's a valid idea. But it's like, it's really kind of like, the general concept of that is overdone. The idea of the family like having to learn that something that they're not used to is perfectly valid too, and like that's been done to death. So I like how we just start this off with just the McGee's, like they're ready and willing. They don't know about these traditions, but they're willing to learn. They're fully on board with it. I just think it was an absolutely stunningly beautiful first half of the episode. And then the second half went to what most people do tend to celebrate, Christmas. And it even showed it as the major celebration in even Brighton. The entire town is decked out for Christmas. And so that's why I think it was important that we showcased Hanukkah first, putting it as at the highlight of this episode, making Christmas sort of like, even though it's being shown as like, yeah, it's obvious that this town is mostly people who celebrate Christmas, and it's obvious that America even is, and a lot of the world, it's making it clear that other holidays deserve just as much love and treatment. And while and also you can even see how the celebration and how the episodes went as a contrast as well. The Hanukkah half of the episode with Libby and her family was about the history of it, the traditions of it, the connections that their family and others have to it. The Christmas half of the episode is about Christmas cheer. It's about the feeling of the holiday, which is fine and valid. It's just like I love that they did it this way. The creators of the show, the writers of the show, made it so that the most celebrated holiday is just kind of downplayed as being like, oh, all cheer and cookies and presents and Christmas trees and decorations and shit. While the Hanukkah episode gets so much depth and lore and heart put into it. And yeah, there's heart and everything in the Christmas half too. But I like that it's a less serious episode, or a less serious half to the episode. It definitely is painted as less serious and more fun and everything, more like just, again, Christmas cheer. So I really like that they not really made light of Christmas, but definitely put the focus of this episode on the Hanukkah part. I really like that. But yeah, so it's a Christmas Carol episode. Everyone does a Christmas Carol. It's probably one of the most parodied, one of the most um, utilized Christmas stories ever, if not the most. Um, and it's basically we get to meet Andrea's father, Mr. Davenport, after the town's Christmas decorations literally go up in flames from a freak accident. Molly asks Mr. Davenport to help fund getting everything back up and running for the Snowflake Festival, and he refuses because it won't help him business wise. So she decides to have Scratch, as well as her family and everyone, pull off a Christmas Carol rip for him and try to get him to see the error of his ways, but nothing seems to work until he ends up seeing his daughter, who he very clearly does love. Um, like, really sad, like, legitimately sad over the fact that she's not going to be this snowflake princess or whatever. And I actually think that's kind of cute, admittedly. And the fact that that is the one thing that turns him around, like even the danger of his business going out, it doesn't turn him around in the end. Um, Seeing other families in possible destitution doesn't turn him around, which is messed up, yes. Um, and all of that, but the fact that he does clearly love his daughter so much that seeing her sad is enough to make him change his mind. I actually do kind of think that's cute. But the song kind of made it clear. I believe it said, like, you're not as bad as we thought you were, or something like that. I think that's really fucking funny because it's like, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's not saying that he's not bad still. It's not, it's clear that he's still kind of a greedy capitalist scum, but he's not as bad as he could be. um, but yeah, Scratch helps save the day and save Christmas and save the cheer for everyone. And mostly he does it for Molly because he doesn't want her to be sad on Christmas, because he does care about her. And it's really cute and nice and everything. But again, it's all about that kind of thing, about Christmas cheer and the spirit of things, like rather than displaying it and explaining it as important or anything. Like, they don't go into the history of Christmas or anything like that. They don't make a big deal out of that, but they made such a big deal out of Hanukkah for the first half of the episode. And I just love how much they put into that. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Um, but like I said, this is the last episode for the time being. Um, so before we get into exactly what's going to replace this, I need to check something because I almost forgot. I need to find out where they live. Just for me, just because it has been something I've been questioning, and it is just something I kind of just want to know, just out of curiosity. So let me bring up a state map here. I'm not going to bring it up on screen just because, I don't know, they might find a reason to go after me for that. Let me see if I can bring it up on here, if I can find it again. I don't remember where and... Oh, no, I remember now. Yeah, it's after everything was burning down. Okay. So let me compare this. Both sides of this map. The U.S. map and what it shows on here. So based on where it is, Brighton seems to be located like at the bottom left, the like southeast, right southeast of the lake there, the Great Lake. So that would have to be in Illinois. Even based on how far over it is, like it's like basically right south of that little dip, which is like right between the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and Minnesota. It's right underneath that, so it would have to be Illinois. It's looking at this U.S. map, it would be like Iowa kind of pokes into Illinois a bit. It would probably be right under there. So yeah, it seems like it's in Illinois. So technically, we could see Molly McGee go to Chicago, I presume. But yeah, okay, so that's fun. I kind of wanted to know, but and that's what it seems. They haven't confirmed it in the show, but based on what it shows on that map, that's where it would be. So they are apparently in Illinois, from what we can tell. But yeah, so like I said, getting back to the point, though, I just wanted to get to that before I forgot. Like I said, this is the last episode until February, I want to say 18th, but I don't think that's entirely right. I don't know, somewhere around there. So we need something to fill the gap until then, something to just fill up this slot. And this is going to be a surprising one for a lot of you. Because back in 2019, September 2019, I dropped a series, or I basically dropped a series, yeah, that I always meant to come back to. That I was always going to return to, and I just never did. And I think I dropped it for time reasons and whatnot, and there were other things I wanted to get to. I don't remember exactly. I could probably go back and look, but I didn't. So yeah. But a series that I dropped back in September of 2019, so over 2 years ago now, that I've always wanted to get back to, and I just never did. And I never watched it on my own time. I never got spoiled on it, which I guess is a surprise. I guess it's not like the most massive series out there, but from what I've seen, it's pretty well liked. But I've always meant to come back to it, and now we're finally going to do so. I'm trying to make that a thing in 2022. I want to come back to a lot of shows that I either put on hold or dropped for the wrong reasons or whatnot, and give them another chance. We kind of already started that in 2021 with Adventure Time, and now we're doing so with A Place Further Than the Universe. Yeah, we're getting back to this anime series about these girls trying to make their way to Antarctica, and I'm gonna have to definitely refresh myself on everything that happened so far. I remember that they were trying to like get on this expedition or something, get their money for that. I remember the girls. One of them was this rich girl or celebrity or something like that, something like that. This other girl who was my favorite, Hinata, worked at a convenience store, I believe. And then there were the two main girls from the school. I believe that's how it kind of balanced out. Again, it's been over 2 years, so I just have to try to remember it. I'm going to refresh myself on the first 5 episodes, which is what we reacted to back then. And so starting next week on Fridays, we'll get to those. And it's 12 episodes long, so we should be able to finish in time for new Molly McGee episodes. Even if we have to do like 1 or 2 videos that are 2 episodes long. We'll get it figured out. We'll handle it. We'll make sure we're ready when Molly McGee returns. Or as close to as possible. But yeah, I am interested in getting back to this because I did like the show and what I saw of it from the first 5 episodes. It's just I believe it was due to time constraints and stuff that I dropped it. I'm not 100% sure on that again, but I'd have to go back and look. But I believe that's the case. And that's definitely a reason to get back into it. And again, I always wanted to anyways. I always wanted to get back into it. So yeah, this is going to be another one we're going to do that for this as we start this year. And hopefully, as we continue throughout the year, we'll get back to other shows that I've wanted to get back to as well. So, for the time being, tell me what you thought of episode 10 of The Ghost and Molly McGee. And I hope you are as excited as I am for when it returns next month. So, thank you all so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.